Break down film, and it is going to be awesome. There's your pen back. Okay, phone them back. Why are you here? You're a 2 weeker, right?
No, you gave me a different number.
Oh, word, yeah, fair. Thanks. Did you phone them back?
Well, I texted
What?
Yeah, I know. I just did it every time.
Okay, please give me their number. Okay, go.
It's 336.
Alright, everybody. Hey, quiet, please. Okay, I recommend that you should probably take some notes on this if you want to learn how to do this and listen to these tips. If you don't want to learn how to do this, you don't want to get any better. So, but there's one guy with a thunder hat on, so I don't care about winning. So, good job. Alright. That's true, they won the Western Conference Championship. Second team was pretty good. Alright, listen up. So, this is about film studies and debate. Its title is not just for football anymore. We'll talk a little bit about how you can use film to help you get better at debate. A little special thanks to Bill Batterman. A lot of the tips in here come from like a lecture I heard him give on film studies and debate. So, why should you study film and debate? One reason, to know your opponent, know your product, know what you're putting out there for judges and opponents. How many people in here love listening to themselves speak on video? Yeah, how many people hate doing that? Alright, how are you going to know how you sound to judges unless you listen to yourself? What do you sound like in rounds? That's really, really important. What do you look like in rounds? Like, how do you look confident? You know, what's your presence like? You can't determine any of that unless you watch yourself. Speaking from personal experience, when I was in college, one of the years I was debating, we had a graduate assistant who wanted to do some video study, and he wanted to film us debating. And this was back in the day when the camcorders were like pretty big, you know, and he wanted us to watch those videos and then do redos based off of it and break those videos down. And I was a little skeptical, but I did this and I found a couple things that I was probably one of my harshest critics, and that it really helped me get better because I was able to visually identify things that I needed to correct. It's one thing for a coach or someone to tell you, you know, you should do this better or you should correct this. But it really doesn't hit you unless you can see yourself doing that and see like, oh, they're right, that doesn't sound good, or oh, they're right, that is distracting, I should not do that, right? So video and study and film study can really, really help you sort of internalize criticism that you get from coaches and that you get from judges and things of that nature. So there's a couple seats up here, referencing back there, some up here though. So know your product, know what you're putting out there. Right? Second, to become more persuasive. Debate is a persuasive activity. You may see speaking problems and you can work on fixing those issues, right? If you are unclear during debates, if judges say you are hard to flow, those are things you can notice on tape, and you can become a more persuasive speaker. If you learn to do film study and you kind of commit to doing it a little bit, I guarantee you your speaker points at tournaments will improve if you do it the way you're supposed to do, okay? The third thing is you can identify your strategic mistakes. You can find out why you lost that round and when it happened in the debate. Now, this is important because a lot of times when a round's over, a judge will tell you, you know, maybe why you lost the round, what happened. You'll go maybe tell a coach or something, and then a couple days later it becomes a little hazy, right? It's like, why did I lose that round? They said something. I don't remember. There was something about this ad. I can't tell you, right? Or maybe you don't have the exact explanation that the judges were talking about. Or maybe the judge explains to you why you lost and you still don't understand. So the video can help you do that. It can help you like, well, what did the judge say? Where did this go wrong? You know, where did we lose this debate? Go back and watch that part of the debate and see what happened and see the strategic mistake that you may have made, right? The other reason to do this is that speech redos are more effective, okay? If you don't do speech redos, you should do them. They will make you better. And what I mean is, like if you have a round, and it could be a round you lose, it could be a round you win, it could be a rebuttal. Usually the rebuttal redos could be 2 ACs are good things to redo also. you want to redo those speeches, like practice giving them again. There's two different ways to do it. One way is to sort of try to simulate the debate exactly and not to really like, plan it out, just to sort of like give it again with some minor changes. Another way is to sort of like, if you had infinite prep time, what would you do in that speech to make it better? And so that's another way to do redos. I think both of those ways are beneficial for different reasons. But speech redos with video film can be even better, right? Because you can watch the debate, and if your flow got messed up or something, you can watch the debate up to the point where you're going to give that redo, and you can slow down, you can stop and replay, you can make sure your flow is perfect, right? It's what I call a high quality redo. So you can basically get all the information that maybe you're missing in the debate because everything's happening all at once to make your redo even better. And another reason is that it motivates debaters. You are most likely your harshest critic. Visualizing a problem will allow correction, and that's the personal experience example for myself. It didn't take me very long watching videos of myself debating. I was like, oh, it sounds terrible when I do that. I got to change that. Oh, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Right? And the thing is, everybody makes mistakes in debate. In fact, debate a lot of times is a game of who happened to make the biggest mistake that round. It's never a game of who debated perfect, because that never happens. It's a game of like, well, one side maybe made more mistakes than the other. So everyone makes mistakes, so don't be hard on yourself in that respect. Just, if you have an opportunity to watch yourself debate, try to like identify what those mistakes are and correct them. And that's what we're going to talk about. So how do you record debates? So let's say you're like, okay, you sold me, I think I want to record some debates in. How do I do it? Well, there's a couple different ways. One, you or your team may want to purchase a small video recorder and a stand. You really need a stand also, so you can kind of set it up. They have stands that are really small that can sit on desks. They have like larger stands, like the one back there on the video camera that we're using to take this lecture. So your school may also have video cameras that you can check out to use. A lot of libraries or AV departments in schools have these, and they just kind of like sit around waiting for students to use them for projects and things like that. So if you want to check out one for a debate tournament, they may let you do that. So that's another thing that you can do. If you choose to buy your own, you can get a good quality small video recorder for somewhere between $70 and $150. Now I know that $70 and $150 is not like chump change, right? But you can, if I have mine in here, here we go. Like this one's really small, not very big, right? So it doesn't take up a lot of space in your backpack, right? The little stand that comes with it's pretty short too. You can sit it on a table or a desk in the round, right? And you can record with it. And this is one that I used. I actually want to upgrade to a better one because this one's a couple years old and it can only hold about one round, maybe like 1.5 rounds. So I would like to have one that can hold like maybe 3 or 4 debates at a time before I switch it over. But you want to make sure that you have a camera or try to get access to one through your school or your coach or something like that. Okay, another option you have is to record from your laptop with built-in cameras. How many of you have a laptop that has a camera built into the laptop? Okay, that's good. That is another way you can record debates. It is a cheaper option than having the external camera. It's not quite as good sometimes as the external camera, because the good thing about the external camera is you can see what you look like from the judge's view or like a little bit further away. If you record yourself with the screen and the laptop, you're pretty much only going to get like your facial shot, which is going to be kind of weird when you watch the video, right? But you should get good audio, and that's important too. So it's definitely a good option, and the way you can do that is you can just like turn on, set it to record video, and just start it running and minimize that application in the background while you're debating. And some of you that debate with paper, right? If you debate with paper and you don't do, how many does paper debate or paper fold? You're more of a paper fold squad? Okay, well if you carry a laptop anyway and you have a video, you can set that laptop up, not even in your face, just kind of off to the side to record you, and that's one way that you could possibly do that. If you use paperless debate, you can still do that. You just need to turn on the recording function and minimize it before you start your speech, right? So you can record from your laptop, and you may want to try doing that if you have the ability to do that before you go invest in like buying a camera. But like I said, your school may have cameras that you can use potentially. You want to make sure you have at least 2.5 hours of video memory on the camera, that it can record at least that amount of time, because that's going to be a full debate plus a little bit of leeway room. The more space your camera has, obviously, the less you're going to have to spend transferring that speech to your computer, right? Because like say I go to a tournament with the little camera I have, like say I'm at Green Hill and I record a debate I judge. Well, before my next debate, if I want to record that, I've got to transfer it to my computer, right, and delete the copy on my camera, and that can take a while, especially if I'm coaching teams at the tournament, which I'm doing, right, and I'm busy doing that too. So you may want one that's larger video memory, it's up to you, and that's why maybe sometimes the camera in the laptop can be pretty helpful. So you also probably want an external hard drive. And a lot of you may have external hard drives anyway, or your squad may have one, but an external hard drive is really useful because video cameras take up a lot, video clips take up a lot of space on your computer. So if you build a little library of debates that you had and videos, you can store them on an external hard drive instead of storing them on your computer, so that it's not something that takes up all your memory constantly. If you place a camera, you want to place it where you can see the face of the speaker, but you want to place it close enough for audio quality. And you need to test the features of the camera and test the audio of the camera and see how close you need to be. Because how many of you in here have ever watched a video of a debate and the audio quality was just terrible? All right, good, raise your hands. Happens all the time, right? You see a debate posted and you're like, oh, here's round 6 from the GOC or something, and you try to watch it and you're like, I can't hear anything they're saying. It's just like really bad quality sound. And because people are reading quickly in debate and speaking very fast, it's important that the audio quality is good. This doesn't mean your camera has to be like super, super awesome. It means you have to make sure you don't place the camera too far away from the speakers. That's all, okay? And you can play around with that in sync. The other thing you want to do is you want to make it part of your pre-round routine. If this is something that you like seriously want to do, when you set it up, when you set up your stuff before the debate, like whether you're using paper, you're setting up, your expandos or stuff, or whether you're using paperless debate, you're getting your computer set up, your power cord set up, right? You go ahead and set up your video camera when you're doing all that, right? So you just make it part of your pre-round routine, so you'll remember. A lot of times people will set it up, and I've even done this before, a round I was judging or something, I'll set up the video and then I'll just forget to push record right before it starts, so sometimes that happens too. It's also useful to put your name and contact info on your camera with some kind of like tape or sticker, just in case you ever leave it somewhere or something like that. If you make it part of your routine and you keep it with all your other tech stuff, if you're paperless, you'll probably remember to like put it back in your backpack, but that's just a good idea, okay? Now, when you record a debate, what are you going to record, okay? All your debates. It'd be awesome in a perfect world if you could record all of your debates. It would be really hard to watch all of your debates again, but if you could record them, it would be great. If there's a particular round you wanted to watch over that you lost, or a round you won that you're not sure why you won, that would be pretty useful to have, right? The whole debate if possible. If your opponents object, like the people you're debating, we'll talk about that in a minute, they don't want to be filmed, you could say, okay, I will not film you, but I will just record my own speeches, and you could also do that. You also want to record judge decisions if the judge doesn't care about that. Okay? Now, why is recording judge decisions important? Can anyone give me a good example? I mean, other than what I have written on the board?
Record, like, why he or she thought that you won a lot more.
Yeah, sure. If you have that recorded, it's easier to explain what happened in the round for your coaches to see, right? Because the coaches can hear exactly what the judges say. I'll go ahead and tell you this. This happens all the time in debate. Team debates. Team loses debate or wins debate, right? Team goes and tells their coach, hey, we lost X round or we won X round. Coaches are like, well, what happened? Debaters say, this is what happened. Many times what debaters say, this is what happened, is not the same thing the judge says, this is what happened. And it's not that debaters do that on purpose, it's that they're just not explaining it the way the judge is explaining it. And so it's like hearing something second, third hand, you know what I mean? Like it's like a rumor, like, once it passes through so many people, like what's the truth, right? So as a coach, it's pretty useful if you can have a decision recorded because you can hear exactly the thought process of the judge. That can also give your coaches a little bit of insight into how that particular judge thinks, which can help you if you debate and have them in the back of the room in the future. Another thing you want to do is you want to record out rounds. If you are eliminated in a tournament, if you want to watch an out round debate, which I would recommend that you do because watching debates will help you get better, you could ask the people in the round, hey, do you mind if I record this? Most of the time they'll say, sure, and you could record it. You could even create like a little debate library of videos on an external hard drive, and that's really useful because It can help your team. It can not only help younger debaters, like watching debates, because they have a lot of debates to watch. It can help you, like let's say that someone on your squad's like really, really good and they were very successful, and then you're like an incoming freshman. You could watch a lot of their rounds, right? Or a sophomore, you could watch some of those rounds and see like this good debater on your squad, like some of the things that they did that seemed to work, right? So that can be really helpful to you. So record all your debates if possible, right? Obviously you can't record every single one. Judge decisions and out rounds. When not to record, this is important. So first thing, if the tournament does not allow it, if the tournament does not allow recording. Now I'm not sure what the UIL rules are in Texas. I know in OSSAA, which is the state organization in Oklahoma where we debate, you are not allowed to record videotape debates. That's like part of the rules in OSSAA. So I can't record OSSAA rounds in our state. Can't do that. So if the tournament doesn't allow it, you can't do it. Usually that information is done by like the governing body. Does anyone know the UIL rules about that? I know TFA will definitely let you record debates. I'm not sure what they are. Do you know, Tracy, do you know if UIL lets people record debates?
I do not know the answer to that question,
I don't know.
although we technically can't participate now,
Oh, excellent.
because we sued the UIL.
Oh. Well, two, right? Another reason not to record the debate is if the judge objects. If for some reason the judge is like, I don't want you to record this debate. It's very rare that a judge would tell you that, but if they do, you obviously don't want to make them mad or argue with them right before the round about recording. It's not a good idea. Third thing, right? If the other team objects. So if the other team is like, hey, I don't want you to record this, makes me feel uncomfortable, don't pressure them or like, be really mean about that. Just be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Just let them know, like, hey, I'm going to record my speeches and my partner's speeches, but we won't record yours. That includes cross-sections. So you can tell them that. Most teams are okay with that. Most teams are probably pretty amenable to you recording, especially a lot of them may even ask like, hey, if you record that, can you send me a copy of the video when you record it? Because I would like to see myself debate too. And that's a really good thing to do. So offer to share the video with the other team and promise not to post the video online, okay? If you promise not to post it online. Now, when I say not post it online, like I don't think you should just post any debate. I mean, if everyone in the round agrees to it, and they're like, oh, it's great to post it online, and the other coaches on the other team are totally fine with that, then you could post it on YouTube for people to see. You can also use YouTube to create private accounts that only certain people with access can see. And so the private accounts, you could post them on YouTube privately and just share them with your own team, which is pretty useful too, or with the other team if you wanted. So there's ways to do that also. So just make sure when you tell people, if they're a little wary, be like, hey, we won't post it online if you don't want, or if you want to post the debate online, ask them, do you mind if we post this online, and your coach's mind. And that's important to see what they think. Okay, so watching the debate. As you watch this debate, what are you doing? Well, you're going to watch for strategic and execution mistakes. Strategic and execution mistakes. You want to evaluate your line by line. How does it sound? Are you doing things the right way? You want to evaluate your impact analysis and framing. That's always a big part of a debate that can win you and lose your debates. How well do you extend a disad or a K or AF advantages or your 2A CRs? And you want to watch your time allocation too. So having the ability to watch this on video will give you sort of the ability, you have the ability to start and stop. So you can, after each position, like after a disad you extend, you can stop and be like, wow, what did I do in that disad that didn't work? And you can go back and watch it again and be like, oh, I totally, missed, didn't handle this link turn right, or I dropped an argument, I can't believe I did that, right? Or you can go back and say like, wow, my impact analysis doesn't sound very good on this disad, right? So those are little things that you can look for, strategic and maybe execution mistakes that you can highlight and identify. The other thing you want to look for is speaking performance mistakes. So are you clear, right? Are you easy to flow? Do you transition well from flow to flow? What is your presence like while you're speaking? And the presence in cross-sections, your mannerisms, your gestures, are they distracting, right? Like we said before, you should definitely watch yourself debate because judges watch you debate. If you have comments from judges like, wow, you were kind of hard to flow, or I have a hard time understanding you, right? And you don't know why, watching yourself debate will fix that automatically. You will listen to yourself and you'll be like, oh, I see what they're saying now. Like that is really, I do sound really unclear. I need to slow down or change my speaking style a little bit, right? So all that stuff can matter. Has anyone ever seen someone debate that had kind of crazy gestures or mannerisms?
Yes.
Was it like distracting maybe a little bit when they debated? See, that's something that you can correct too, right? I'm not saying that debaters should be like, robot automatrons and just like stand and not move. But, some people do things that are maybe like too distracting. And if you have judges give you notes like that or tips like, hey, you're a little distracted when you do this, those are things you can pick up by video. And it's a lot easier to see those things visually than it is to just, hopefully do them the right way or remember what people are saying. So these are some of the things that you're going to look for, right? Strategic execution mistakes and speaking performance mistakes. Now, after you identify mistakes, you want to make corrections. And here's what I recommend you do. Make a checklist of the things you want to work to correct, specific to that debate, or a trend. If you watch a couple of different debates and know that there's something you keep doing, write it down. Create like a document, call it your debate performance checklist, and come up with things you want to improve. Like, I heard myself debate, and I noticed that when I transition from flow to flow, or maybe when I do like theory, or maybe when I do like theory or T, I'm really hard to understand in flow. I need to find a way to, slow down a little bit, maybe make my arguments a little more labeled a little bit better so they're easier to flow. So find specific things that you want to correct. Make a list of those things, and then try working on them. If the problem you identify is like a speaking or presence issue, you can do drills with coaches or by yourself or with other teammates to fix the problems you identify, right? If you identify a speaking problem, you can ask your coach or someone about what type of drill you can do to help fix that speaking problem, and you can practice it and work on that particular thing. You can do the same thing with teammates, right? You can teammates, you can help each other come up with ideas about how to fix problems you see in your speaking. And this is a lot of this work you can do on your own. So you can do some of this yourself. You can be a little motivated on your own and figure out what drills you need to do, and you can do them at home with all the free time that you have, which is it. All right. If it's a content issue, not a speaking issue, like if it's a content issue, meaning like the arguments you're running in the round, you may want to rework your blocks or evaluate the argument for like weak points. Like if you are run a particular K and you've lost, you have 2 or 3 rounds that you lost with that argument, and it's kind of on like certain issues, you may want to watch and see like what issues you're having problems with, right, and figure out ways to correct those problems. You can also examine your whole round strategy. Videotaping the whole round is pretty useful because you can sort of see how the round develops, like especially on the negative, like from one speech to the next, like why did you choose to kick out of certain positions, based on what was happening in the debate. Would it have been more strategic to maybe go a different route or pick a different, set of arguments to extend in the block or the 2NR? It can be really helpful with that. How many people in here have ever had a judge tell them, you were doing pretty well through the block, but then in like the 2NR or maybe the 2AR, you just made a wrong choice and lost? Okay? A lot of times them telling you that choice, you're like, okay, yeah, I get it, but if you can go back in that video to the point where that happened and see exactly what you did, that can help you too. You're like, okay, that's what they're talking about, I get it, it makes total sense. Let me do that speech over again, redo it, and kind of correct those problems and see what it looks like. You can also work on flowing. If you need help flowing or you want to get better flowing, watching debates is the best way to do that because you practicing flowing, you'll get better at it. Just like anything in life, if you practice it the right way, you will get better. So practice flowing. So these are all different types of corrections you could potentially make from watching yourself debate. Like the checklist, I think is really important. Gives you an idea of things you need to work on. So now there's this little next level. These are some other tips that you can do, some things you can do with video, right? You can ask coaches and others to watch your videos. Now, if you're a coach, you coach a lot of teams. It is impossible for you to watch every debate of your team on video. There's just no way it's going to happen. But what you can do is maybe watch certain rounds that your team maybe you want help in a certain round that you lost, that you debated particularly bad in and you don't understand why, or maybe you're just a round against a really good team and you're like, I'm not sure what I could have done to win this round. Maybe that's a good round for your coach to watch with you. And that's really time consuming and you may not have time to do it, but it's definitely an option. You can also share it with your teammates too who aren't in the round and see what they think. Partner, or if you have alumni that debated for your program that you're friends with that are in college that have a debate experience and they want to sort of would help you out, they could watch the video and give you some tips, right? So asking other people to watch the video is pretty helpful. Redo evaluation. Now we talked about this a little bit earlier. Do a speech redo from a round you've recorded, okay? Now here's something really cool that you can do. So say you want to redo this 2&R of a round that you lost, okay? So you prepare the redo, right? Flow the debate, prepare the redo, make the corrections you want to make, and then record yourself doing the redo. Then you ask someone like a coach or someone else to watch the debate up to the point where you're going to give that speech. Watch you give the speech that you're redoing, and then immediately watch the other one that you corrected, and get feedback on the changes that you made in the speech. You could even, you could even just show them the one speech you're redoing. Like say you're redoing a 2AC, you could just hey, can you watch this 2AC, and then watch my redo, and then watch the video of the 2AC and the video of your redo, and see if they agree with the changes that you made, right? It's a lot easier for a coach to evaluate a speech via redo versus redo, 2&R versus 2&R, 2AR versus 2AR or something, or 8-minute block, than it is to evaluate an entire debate, because coaches don't always have time to watch an hour and a half, 2 hour debate. You can also track your progress, which is really, really helpful. You can compare the new debates with older debate and see if you made progress. So if you start doing this next year and you record yourself, 1 or 2 times the first, maybe 2 tournaments, then, mid-semester point, you can compare those recordings to the earlier ones and see hey, I've been trying to make these changes, have they made a difference? Have I fixed some of those problems I have? Now usually you'll be able to indicate this by your winning percentage going up, right? But you can also determine this by checking those videos. Now if you do this and then you get disappointed, you're like, oh no, I still sound the same as I did before, I'm not making any progress. That doesn't mean that the video exercise is a failure, it just means that maybe the drills you're doing to try to make the improvements are not working, and you need a different set of things to do to fix those problems. And you can talk to coaches or other people about that. And the video thing is something that allows you to do work on your own, skills work on your own, which is really beneficial. You can send specific clips to other coaches for evaluation, right? Because like I said, they can't watch all of your debates. So maybe if you are trying to improve the way you extend the counter plan, you can put together a clip of just the places where you went for that counter plan in the block and the 2&R, and you can sort of redo that and then show both of those to your coaches. And it's a lot easier as a coach to watch a 10-minute thing and give feedback than it is to watch a 2-hour thing and give feedback, okay? So that's another idea. And most of the time if you record, most computers now sort of come with some sort of free video editing software. So usually you could edit those clips yourself. Now it may take a little bit of a learning curve for you figuring out how to do it, but then there's all kind of other benefits if you make cool videos later or becomes the next Steven Spielberg or whatever. So there's good parts, right? Next, 4 techniques for evaluation. Here's some other techniques that you may want to incorporate. Flow yourself. I can't stress this one enough. How easy are you to flow? What is your projection like? How do you sound on theory and T? Debaters typically sound terrible on theory and T because they go too fast, judges can't flow anything. Are your tags and authors clear? Are your tags too wordy? Are your tags easy to flow or hard to flow? That stuff matters. You will never know how easy or how hard you are to flow until you hear yourself speak. So that's one technique. Watch a debate and flow yourself. Spend the whole time trying to flow yourself to see what you sound like and what types of arguments you're making. If you watch a debate and you can't flow yourself very well, that should tell you you need to change some things about the way you're speaking. Second, this is interesting, don't flow. So Watch a debate, but do not flow. This is another technique you can use. Watch yourself during the debate, but don't flow. Look for things like, are you confident? Do you seem intimidated? Are you aggressive in the round? Are you too passive in the debate, right? Do you seem really focused during the debate? Do you lose focus and get distracted at different moments in the debate? Are you arrogant in the debate? Are you respectful in the debate? Are you steady? Do you not get rattled, or do you seem really inconsistent, like some parts of the speech you do really well, other parts you do badly, or something like that? Are you enjoyable to listen to? Now that's really important because that's one of those things that it's hard to determine, but if you see yourself debating and sort of watch for those things, you can figure this out. And ethos, how persuasive you are, all that sort of goes packaged into how persuasive you sound to judges, can really make the difference in close skill level debates. Now what I mean by close skill level, if you are debating a team that is around the equal skill level you are, oftentimes the team who has better ethos, that is more persuasive, wins those debates. And so that is something that you can adjust and work on and identify. Another technique while watching video that you can use, and I've not actually done this one with one of my teams yet, but it's kind of interesting, I think it's an interesting idea, is you could watch yourself prep. You could have one round where you just set the video camera up and watch where you prep, not actually watch you speaking as much, and see what you're doing during prep. Like, are you, what are you doing? Did you take, if you have a round where you if you find yourself taking way too much prep sometimes, and you think, why does it take me so long? Watch yourself. See if you're being inefficient. See if you're if you're using papers, like if you fumble through papers, you get them misorganized a lot and have to fix them. If you, can't find things in certain expandos, do you look panicked, things like that. If you're doing paperless debate, how many people here do paperless debate? Okay, one of the things you can do, and this is a little trickier, there's a lot of software that does screen recording where it will record your screen. You can turn that on while you're prepping to see how efficient you are at doing the paperless stuff. And then, if you're like, man, I'm in prep, I just can't see, I always never have enough time into the debate. I don't know what's wrong. Record yourself and watch yourself and be like, oh, why am I, you'll look for the mistakes. Like, are you looking in the wrong folders? Do you not know how your paperless files are organized? Maybe you need a different organizational system. Things like that. The more information you can find out about that kind of stuff, the more you can improve, So watching yourself prep is important. And I'll tell you this too, a lot of times in prep, some teams, if you're not flowing in prep, you're not flowing the other team, if you look really disinterested in your prep and you're distracted and not paying attention, judges pick that stuff up. So watching yourself is useful too, right? If you are in prep, how many people have ever debated someone, or maybe you're one of these people who does this, where when the other person's speaking, you make lots of eye contact and mean faces to the judge because you're like, oh, I can't believe the 2AR said that. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, no. You shake your head and stuff like that. Well, watch yourself doing that, and you'll probably find out that it's maybe a little not respectful. It's also, it could be a little bit arrogant depending on the way you do it, too. So I'm not saying you can't ever shoot the judge a strange look or try to get a nonverbal from them, but if you're someone who maybe does that too much, that can give you an insight into that. And last, you want to watch yourself during opponent speeches. That's another trick. You can see how you act during their speech. Like we said, do you flow? Do you get distracted during their speeches or make any sort of bad impressions? So these are additional techniques you can look for, right? You flow yourself, practice doing that. Don't flow, watch yourself debating without flowing. Look for other things, presence issues. Watch yourself prep for particular speeches, see how that works. And watch yourself during opponent speeches. Okay, watching others. So what are you going to do if you watch someone else debate that's not you? Obviously, watching what you debate is the best way to make yourself better. Well, debating actually is probably the best way to make yourself better, but watching yourself debate can correct problems you have. One of the best ways. But you can also use this to watch other people. Now, this is probably only applicable if it's maybe a team that you think you're going to debate numerous times throughout the season. And if so, and you record a debate round you have with them, or one of their debates in an out round, you want to look for things like flow their tendencies, like identify typical strategies, like Is this a team that always goes for like the C, the political argument on the K? Or is this a team that goes for the permutation like all the time against certain types of counterplans? So, you know, look for things that that particular team has as like a strength that they tend to go for in those last speeches to give yourself a little bit of intel about what they're going to do. Impact comparisons. Is there like a particular affirmative impact they like to go for? Or, you know, what's their favorite K impact they go for in their cap K, you know? Learn how they spin their arguments. That can be really useful to you because if you can determine that they kind of always do it a certain way, you can prepare for that ahead of time. Another really useful technique for this, if you can record someone else's debate and you debate them later, is you can prepare for the CX. Like if they're running the same app, it's really useful. But like how will they answer certain CX questions? You can then make adjustments based on what you think they're going to answer, and you can maybe like make your CX better, right? This is really useful for the 1AC, especially if it's a team you're going to debate a lot during the season, right? And they tend to run the same app. You can ask questions, see how they answer those questions in a debate, figure out a way to like maybe ask follow-up questions to make your point a little bit stronger, right? Or questions about like, you know, how they run the K, how they frame the alternative, or how they run their counter plans. That stuff can be really useful. You can do shadow debate, and shadow debate is kind of cool. It's like you basically run the debate to a point, and then you give the next speech. So let's say that this isn't a team that you debated, right? But let's say you record. Let's say it's like a team that debated one of your other teams, and you run the same app. You know, do the speech to the 2AC, and then if you're the 2AC, do what your 2AC would be to that particular 1MC, right? Or that's a really good way to do it. Or for instance, like if you are, you know, I guess not the 2AC, like if you're the block, and you run similar arguments to some other people on your team, you could like see what the 2AC were that particular team ran against those block arguments. You could like pick one that you go for sometimes and do your block extension of that. And so that's a little tricky, but it's like basically taking a debate you weren't in and trying to insert yourself into that debate to see how you would handle that situation or how you would experience that. This is a lot easier to do if you have a video of your team debating someone else, if you run similar arguments. It's harder to do if it's just an out round that you record that's two random teams, because then your evidence, you know, is not exactly the same, so it's a little bit harder. But it can be useful. If you have that library we talked about earlier, of like a bunch of your teams debating, you can do the shadow debate thing, and it can be pretty useful. And finally, with this video stuff, don't overdo it. You know, teams are not robots. You can't predict all this stuff. Just because they do it in one debate doesn't mean, like if you have a video recording of like, you know, a team doing something in a debate, that doesn't mean they're going to do that in every debate. So don't depend too much on the limited sample of the video, right? I mean, you want to prepare, but you can't bank the entire, like if you don't want to prepare like a CX and be like, okay, in this debate, they answered these CX questions this way. I'm going to prepare my entire strategy around the CX to get them to do this, right? Because what if they answer it differently, right? So you don't want to over-depend on the video. And you don't want to overdo it on the video either. You can't watch like videos of every single debate you have. It's great to record them all, and then if there's certain rounds that you want to watch at a tournament, like say you have like 6 rounds or 7 or 8 at a tournament, maybe there's like 1 or 2 rounds of that tournament you want to rewatch that you think will be helpful for you. But you know, you don't really know if that's going to be an important round until you know, when the round starts. So you should probably try to record it if you can. It just depends. Do what you can, but don't overdo the video thing. Definitely. Okay. Do I have any questions about some of the stuff we talked about? Questions about recording, when to record, when not to record, things to look for? Any questions? No questions. How many people here think it's a good idea for you to record at least some of your debates? All right. How many people in here think it's a good idea for you to watch those debates with, like, you know, not just watch them, like really watch slowly and look for problems? Okay, good. How many people in here are willing to commit to making changes and corrections of stuff they see in those debates? Okay, that's good too, because that's what you have to do, right? It's a process. You can't just say like, well, I'm going to watch a bunch of my debates. Like, wow, oh, I sound like that, whatever. You have to record the debate. You have to watch the debate, you have to make a list of things you need to change and work on, and you have to commit to making the changes, right? And then you see the improvement. It's just like anything else. It's kind of like, you know, if you were to write a paper and turn in a rough draft, and it was corrected and given back to you, right? And then you have to make the corrections, right? So same thing in debate. Like if you watch a debate, you know, don't just have a video of yourself and be like, oh, I just want to watch myself and maybe flow it once. That's all. Like use it for what it can be used for. Find mistakes, make corrections, get better. That's the formula. Identify mistakes, find ways to correct those mistakes through drills or practice or exercise, and you will get better after that, okay? Now I'm going to show you a very small, this is like a little clip. I'm actually stealing, I think I'm stealing Ron's thunder, but this is a clip of a debate. Now, I don't have a video. I had a few videos of some of my debaters speaking, but I didn't want to like put that on here because then you guys fear, and they're not here either. I don't think I have Jeremy on one of them. But anyway, so what I do want to do though is show you, this is from like a movie and it has like people speaking and it's actually cutting back and forth between the 2NR and the 2AR. So this is just interesting. Like the thing about video is like as you watch the video, these speakers are very good. These are very good debaters, and so they're very clear. And this is kind of a neat video because it can actually show you it shows you the flow of sort of what they're saying as you're watching it. And we're going to watch just a minute or two of it, or maybe 2 or 3 minutes, just so you can kind of see. You may actually get to watch this later today also. But as you watch it, instead of looking so much for strategic things, I want you to look for how the debaters sound, the types of like argument, sort of like tagging and language that they use, and look at mannerisms and things of that nature, okay? So don't focus quite as much on the strategy part of it, okay? Everybody ready? Let's see if we get the sound to work.
At the time of this board, where they have never answered the substantive disadvantage whatsoever, means a vote for the affirmative equals a vote for extinction. This should make it a lot harder for you to clearly include the remaining value of life arguments or calculations because it's a lot of reason why extinction outweighs all their offensive arguments. The reason why extinction doesn't outweigh because there would be no value to life in a world in which we postpone all and consideration. They say it's not political action that feeds our Togusan argument that says the failure to embrace politics causes totalitarianism. And they say that the failure of politics is totalitarianism. We solve the totalitarianism impacts because we reopen the sphere of the political and don't let it merely be used as a technocratic rule. Our 1AC Zimmerman evidence is phenomenal. Of the ways that authoritarianism has been institutionalized through the technology. Instead of second argument, double minded assumption to absolute sovereignty. Take out, they use political action as a route, they use political action as a route to think everything. The next argument that we make, we use political action as a route to rethinking, which takes out our paradox argument, but our McWhorter evidence smokes theirs. It is the part of the book that is after the card that they read. The political action is part of the paradoxical strategy that we solve. Doing nothing is not enough. Number 5 argument, there's never impact is terrible. It's an argument speech value consideration of magnitude and that existence outweighs being because the only way we can engage in that chain of actions is if we're alive and that there's always a value of life and set the value of life at 100%, which means that our VAs outweigh your arguments. And they say our Zimmerman evidence is credible, but the ontological damnation evidence indicates that the closure of life would be made possible by through the ontological damnation that there would be no value of life. Within our Harvard nuclear study group that indicates you have to evaluate considerations for relative probabilities in order to shape up actual nuclear wars. We give a nuclear war DA your framework. The only argument they have here is that we must have considerations of probability that they have conceded our Beck evidence, which indicates that risk mediation is just another form of technological moralization because it creates a mathematical system of ethics whereby you are a ratio calculating processor. Consider our Boyle bottom arguments and consider adcontent, which indicates ethic always ontology, which means there's no propensity for the ontology arguments now. So they extend the whole blindness argument they have conceded or Hamiltonian evidence, which indicates that working against technology is ethical because it opens up the sphere.
So far, this is awesome because one of the cool things about this is you're actually seeing like 2NR says this, 2AR says this in response, right? 2NR says this, 2AR says this, okay? Now, this is really sophisticated and you obviously can't do this with like you're just videotaping around. But if you can see the 2NR and flow it exactly, and you can see the 2AR and flow it exactly, you can match up those arguments and see exactly how that line by line kind of goes from speech to speech and examine it a little bit closer.
Here's the political best argument I was making about the central literal evidence. This will literally win us the round automatically. They concede our evidence to say subject to the possibility that ontological value can never reach a 0 point causes that to happen. They are one in our label. This argument is the reason why they could be voted against anyway because the only way that their impacts in the 1AC cap is the one of the affirmative. They send over literal evidence about the forgetting being. There's no impact in this evidence articulated in the 2NR. Our argument is that it's a matter of an incorrect interpretation of being imposed to the technological mode of being. They can't exponentiate about the implications or when there's an alternative capitalism offensive arguments. Even when those arguments capital computer state because nothing about the affirmative engagement meditation. The base point is there is zero solving. They say we can't access meditative thought, but we're not coercing you to use your values to merely endorse consider Shalinsky evidence also that evil exists outside the world. They say that people are evil, they have not impacted this, anywhere in the rest of the debate, not accountable. Accountable. They said the market's root of technology and the value means you can't escape and create a right to believe. These arguments beg the question of whether or not our capitalism reconfigures capitalism. We have no answer. Still, no Harkins Law means indicates that some sort of involvement transforms capitalism away from the way that Saunders thinks that capitalism functions. At the top of the debate, our Spalding evidence indicates the right to believe is codified in the market mechanism of the counterplan. They say spotting evidence indicates a right to weak contempt collusion with fines, which means it harms that they comply on the world affirmative. Make no mistake, the right to trade means the right to control the resources of nature. It is a relationship of conquest and dominance that further props the technological logic of managerialism. There's an external impact here in the form of hard Dylan evidence, which I explained in the case of it, which indicates that the devaluation leads to the 0 point of the Holocaust.
Okay, as you've been watching this, how many people think that the debaters sound good? Like they sound like easy to kind of hear and understand even though they're going fast? Okay, good. Has anyone noticed any mannerisms or things they've done that are distracting to you? You have, okay, what?
The 2AR is kind of rocking back and forth a little.
Okay, and that may or may not bother you. You know, often judges like are, you know, looking down, flowing, looking up, but that's like one thing. But even these debaters who are, this is an extremely, both these teams were really, really good this year, and they're very good debaters, so there's not as many flaws in this particular debate. But as you watch a debate like this, it makes it really easy to pick up those little flaws, right? So I'll let you watch the rest.
As we create an ethic of care of capitalism, which is arguably that what they transform capitalism into is a system of commensuration where everything necessarily has an equivalent value to be traded on a market system. This is a form of alienation that will spill over into issues of the environment where we can begin to calculate and assign value to everything, including Cleaner's dog. They see me destroy the environment because they would trade away a dog. Wait, this is now a really big sound of the status quo would kill my dog, and the counterplan means that we have the right to own the plan, would ban the ownership, and everyone would have to share the dog with them, and I would hate that in the economy. Capitalism is a system that props up the logic of the technological system. We have multiple warrants for this argument. The one is exhibited evidence indicates that people are thrown into an ontological understanding of industrial production, which ensures a technological mode of being. They say that capitalism is hyper-core environment indicates that capitalism is ultimate freedom. They say capitalism is ultimate freedom. We are ciphers in industrial production. That technological progress is key to survival. It's our gross evidence. Our loose evidence indicates that the only way to innovate and solve environmental harms is the only way to solve environmental other countries. It's our holiday evidence. And they say technological progress is good, but this evidence is terrible. And when you see evidence, specifically the Beckman evidence, indicates that technological progress has only resulted in the conversion of the Earth into a Titanic factory, which has led to a process of annihilation. They say we put a price on the quality of life. If you waste life, which is the worst option because you cause annihilation, our crush alcohol evidence indicates you cause destruction of the planet. They say that ethic of care is limited, but they haven't seen that capitalism creates a better quality of life. And they say that capitalism leads to a better quality of life, and an ethic of care, but capitalism only leads to a system of commensuration where everything can be assigned and equal value, and then some things can be devalued when they do not fit into the productive imperative. And it also creates a financial incentive to care to others. It forces an ethic of care, which means it overcomes the problems inherent in martial law. The evidence, the ethic of care argument is also turned by the Stenstad evidence, which indicates that it's only by engaging in meditative and phenomenological thinking that we can engage in ethic of care. They said they're seeing those evidence, however, they can see that there's a low probability of collective suicide, which means to the extent you also can see that we should evaluate relative probabilities, that there's no way you can access this argument. They attempt to take out our Santos evidence, but they don't have, but our Santos evidence is good on the collective probability. Also, we said our trainer evidence indicates individualism can't possibly resolve the problems of capitalism. We said there's no alternative to the system anyway, so none of these arguments are often there's not unique observation on the impact or disadvantage. They've also conceded that our Musso evidence, our Musso evidence indicates capitalism facilitates worldwide peace, which means we know we collective suicide. You can see the full weight of our dissent, which means it's guaranteed as far as debate concerns. It also the stance of subcomponent, and also extend our Lewis evidence, our Rogers evidence, and our Quine evidence. We need capitalism strengthening our Gilpin evidence indicates that sustainable and successful, which means that humanity has control over capitalism right now. This is dependent on you winning that ontology should outweigh anyway, because your effects are all around ontology. They over-explain how there is no one cause of exists, and I believe that's why the United States has to maintain hegemonic control. Look, there's just too many concessions in this debate impact for them to win. The impacts of our DA is nuclear, which causes extinction right now. This is the zone.
You know, what you saw at the end there was some of the 2NR that the 2AR didn't answer very well, kind of at the end, ran out of time. But from that debate, did you all see some things that maybe they were doing that you might want to do more in debates? Everybody? Yes. Do you want to give me an example? The line by line was really good by both teams, wasn't it? Like, the 2AR was referencing directly stuff in the 2NR. Did anyone else see something that those debaters did that's like, hey, that's something really good, I want to try to do that more? Oh, well, there was like an analogy about a dog that was made earlier, and they kind of like, that analogy carried out sort of throughout the debate. So that was definitely something that continued in the 2NR and the 2AR. Did anyone notice how many pieces of evidence, like the 2NR referenced? It was a lot of pieces of evidence, right? 2AR, some 2, not quite as many. that's also a really good technique that a lot of young debaters need to work on. So this is just an example of stuff like when you watch a video and you look at it critically for things that some people are doing maybe that's good that you want to emulate, or when you watch yourself and you're looking for things that you want to correct. So video study, definitely something to look into. I would recommend that you try it at the beginning of the year, maybe the first couple tournaments, or worst case scenario, you can do it in a practice round, instead of at a tournament if you're not allowed to do it at tournaments or you don't want to carry video cameras to tournaments. But definitely try it and watch yourself at least once or a few times. And if you make improvements, identify problems, but work on them, you will get better. Okay? Any questions? Okay, that's it.
All right. Do you all want a break?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing before you all break for 10 or so minutes. There is, as you may have noticed as you were lost in the union,